Hello everyone, my name is Maciek Gorywoda and this is the first of the Scala and Play tutorials done in cooperation with Geek Girls Carrots. It's mainly aimed at people who have previously had some experience with web programming, specifically Python and Django, so I can safely assume that I don't have to explain basics, like how to use Eclipse or IntelliJ in order to create a new project, what are the basic data structures, what are regular expressions, etc. For those of you who think they need a more introductory course, there are links below this video. Scala was created in 2003 by Martin Odersky, a professor at Polytechnique de Lausanne. Currently he is a chairman of TypeSafe, a company he founded for promotion and support of the Scala platform. Scala experienced massive growth in popularity during the last 5 years, with Play Framework, its flagship framework for writing web apps, being rewritten in Scala in 2012, and Akka, a toolkit for building distributed applications, reached its first stable release in 2011. Since then, Scala was adopted, among others, by Twitter, The Guardian, and LinkedIn. Apart from being used for writing web servers, Scala's features make it a great tool if you consider cloud computing or any other form of a concurrent distributed system, like for example Apache Spark. Also, if you're interested in programming web pages, but like me you don't want to have anything to do with JavaScript, you can try Scala.js, a Scala to JavaScript compiler. There are two main IDE you can use: Eclipse with Scala plugin and IntelliJ IDEA with Scala plugin. Of course, you can also use the interactive console, which is much as Python's interactive console, but let's use IntelliJ. If you already have some experience with PyCharm, it should be fairly easy for you. Our first project will be a simple movie rating website. In this tutorial, we will write basic logic for adding movies, listing them, and changing their ratings. We create an object, extending the app trait, which tells Scala that here's where it should look for code it should execute on launching the application. And now let's write a class for a movie. It will have a title and a rating. And that's it, one line. Here is the name of the class. Here are the fields, which, put this way, in the same time serve as a constructor. Scala is a strong typed language, which means that when we declare a constant or a variable, we have to state its type. But, as you will see in a moment, Scala is smart enough to infer these types for us most of the time, so we don't have to write them down. In Scala, we usually try to avoid variables. It is not possible everywhere, but Scala provides certain features which make it easier. For example, instead of editing an element, we usually create a copy of it with one of the fields changed. This way, we can avoid a whole family of bugs coming from a situation when two processes are accessing and changing the same data object. As you see, I didn't specify the type of movies list. It is enough that the right-hand side of the assignment states that this is a list of movies. From this, Scala infers the type of movies list. Also, the keyword val states that movies list is a constant, not a variable. If I wanted it to be a variable, I would use var instead of val. Let's look for a moment at for each. Just as Python, Scala gives a lot of attention to operations on lists. We can filter, map, concatenate, and so on with one method call. A for each for every element of the list calls a given function. Usually we would do this like this. But toString is provided by default by our case class movie, so we can skip it. And since we use the movie element only once, we can shorten it using a wildcard. And because this is the only argument of the println function, we can omit it altogether. Scala has a lot of sugar like that. One more thing. A case class is a special type of class, useful for data objects. It provides most often used functionality like serialization and comparison, as well as very short constructors. Now I will override the toString method This s before the string tells Scala that it contains references to variables and constants available in the context, and these references should be substituted. Because toString basically consists of only one expression, no curly brackets are needed. This brings us to another concept of Scala. Everything is an expression. If I write something like this, the last line of it will be returned. The same goes with if-else statements like this one, which will return movie rating or 0. What's more, an expression can be used inside another expression. If you connect this practice with the amount of methods operating on lists, you can in fact write in a few lines a chain of operations which in a more low-level language would take a whole screen. But we will get back to that. Now let's focus on something else. How about instead of hard-coding a list of movies, we would read them from a text? Let's just say we have a text, something like this. Each line describes one movie. There's a title, a comma, and a rating. And there are methods strip margin and trim, which, when called on a string, make it possible for us to write it in a more human-readable form. Strip margin will cut out these margins here, and trim will, well, trim the white spaces at the beginning and the end of the text. So, how to convert this text into a list of movies? First, we have to explain two more features of Scala: regexes and match case. A regex by itself is pretty straightforward. We can write it as a string and then call R on it, which returns a pattern object. Then we can use that pattern object in a match case. A match case is like a switch case in Java or an if-else statement in Python, but on steroids. Apart from being able to compare a string or a number, it can do the same for case classes and, as in this case, for regexes. If the regex matches, the match case can immediately unpack it into strings we are searching for, namely the title and the rating. Note the parentheses in the regex. They tell Scala that we look for a string of letters, numbers, or white spaces, and we want it as a title. Then there should be a comma, and then again a string of numbers which we want as a rating. And then we take the title and the rating, convert the rating to an int because the regex unpacked it as a string in the first place, and create a movie class instance. And since everything is an expression, this movie is returned by the match case. So now we just have to write a method which will take movies text and use str2movie to turn the text into a list of movies. The contents of this method is similar to what we have done with println before. We split movies text into lines and call str2movie for each line to get back a movie. So we create another list, this time a list of movies. As you can notice, we don't handle here a situation when the line from the file does not match the regex. Our tutorial is a bit too short for that. For this moment, let's simply assume that all lines will match. And now, let's just run it. Okay, works. And now, how about adding a new movie to our list? Let's write a simple method for that. But first, I will refactor listing of the movies into another method. This is the list movies method. It takes a list of movies. Let's just copy this code here to here. And the sort by method here returns a copy of the list sorted according to the movie ranking, descending. And let's use it here. And now the addMovie method. This method takes a list of movies and the title of a new movie and returns a new list with the new movie added to the beginning. This is the new movie constant. The rating of the new movie will be 0, and using the double colon operator is how we add a new element to the beginning of a list. It's a constant time operation. Okay, let's print that the movie was added. And return the whole new list. And let's see how it works. Here we created the movies variable using var, not val, because after adding Hobbit we want to reassign it to the new list consisting of all 3 movies. Let's run it. Okay, Hobbit added. If we wanted to, we could connect the first 2 lines. This way we can still declare movies as a constant, but, well, the code is slightly less readable. Still works, so let's get back to the previous version. The last thing to do is to like our movie. Let's add a new method, LikeMovie. The method takes 2 arguments, our list of movies and the title of the movie we like. Then we call the find method in order to get a movie with the title provided in the argument. The find method returns an option. Options are the Scala way of dealing with non-values. If there is no movie with the given title, find will return a singleton of the class none. So we can print an error saying that there is no movie with the given title. If the movie is found, find will return an object of the class sum, which has only one field, namely a movie we search for. If we found the movie, we can get it from the option with movie option get, and then we can create a copy of it. The copy method is provided by the case class, and this is how we use it to create a new object of the class movie, which differ from the old one only by the rating, which is increased by 1. After that, we create a new list of movies. We filter all other movies, so we get those with different titles, and add to them our copy with increased rating. We can print that the movie was liked, and after that we can return that new list. Okay, let's test it. Works. There's just one more thing to do. This if-else in the LikeMovie method looks a bit messy. Let's replace it with a match case. As you can see, just as with the regex, a match case can unpack the movie for us from the object of the class sum. Or, if there is no movie, we can have a case for none, and here a case for some movie. This way, we can easily write down how we deal with different cases. The error case here above, the none case, and the regular case below. Thanks for watching. As I have already said in the beginning, this video was made in cooperation with GeekGirls Carrots. Its purpose is to show how much is actually possible in Scala in just 15 minutes, So if you think you need some more basic introduction or would like to read and hear more about certain topics, there are links below to other resources. If you'd like to see another tutorial like this one, please leave me a note in the comments. Good luck with learning Scala!